Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Berg Collective. We are so excited to have you join us today. We are super excited for our discussion that we are going to have around the Afrotech experience. We know that many of you who are watching may have attended, and we know that some of you haven't attended but have a curiosity for the experience. And so we're really excited that we are able to host this platform and this conversation for you today so that you can experience it through those that have attended. And so without further ado, I am going to turn it over to our next speaker, Miss Bobby, to talk about some of the announcements we have from our collective.
Thank you, Millicent. And just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, hopefully you can. I'm excited to announce an upcoming event for the Global Collective of Black Employee Resource Groups, and that is our Holiday Mixer, which will be occurring on December 7th, 2023 from 6 to 8 p.m. at the Aldi's Lively Caribbean Restaurant and Night Spot located in Dallas. I will post the address and telephone number, but hope to see you there. It's a chance for us to do some face-to-face networking and connecting before we close out the year. And hopefully we can make some new associations as we start off next year. Additionally, if there's anyone that is attending today that is not currently a member of the Global Collective of Black Employee Resource Groups, I want to extend an invitation for you to join. We would love to have you and your company be a member organization. And if you are interested, please drop your name and your contact information in the chat, and I will be sure to follow up with you. There's, I know, an exciting conversation ahead of us, so I'm not going to delay the time any longer. I'm going to pass over to Justin to help do the introduction for the panelist. Justin?
Good afternoon, everyone, from wherever you are joining. I am super excited for today's conversation. We have a few speakers who have decided to share their experience with us all. I'm really excited. I'm excited because I actually have not had a chance to attend Afrotech, so I'm looking forward to living vicariously through you all this year. So no further ado, I am super pumped to bring our first panelist to the stage, Miss Janelle Caminos.
Hi, Justin. Thank you all for joining. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about my Afrotech experience.
Yeah, absolutely. We're super happy to have you. So Janelle, we have a few minutes. We have 5 minutes, so you have to give us the quick synopsis of Afrotech, and I think part of this is really around the ERG participation strategy. So, what strategies would you suggest for ERG leaders aiming to involve their ERGs to get involved with Afrotech next year?
So if your company has diversity hiring goals or retention goals, I think this is a great time to build a business case and either pitch it to your manager, your ERG leaders, executive sponsors, and just pitch it to them like, this is a conference that we need to be surrounded by Black talent that so many people are saying that they can't find, because it's definitely there. So whether it's entry level, management level, internships, whatever it is, like, this is the best time to just build your business case. And I would suggest to start doing it now, since they have already released the early bird pricing.
Okay, great. I think many of us are really working in some recruiting strategy spaces. So I love hearing that Afrotech is the place to be for that. The next topic, is around really cross-company collaboration. Were there opportunities for cross-company collaboration at Afrotech? And if so, how are they utilized by HP? and others?
Yes. So I'm sure y'all been seeing on social media a lot of people complaining about the pricing. And yes, it is expensive. And I will admit that HP is not an official partner with Afrotech as of FY23, but that could change for 24. And I know they have decreased their pricing. But a good idea that I would implement, and which is I'm also recommending to HP, is that we could split these costs amongst departments. So it could be HR, it can be DE&I, it could be certain departments that have diversity hiring goals. So whatever those departments, whether for us, it might be tech sales. Our tech sales department is very low on diversity numbers. Okay, so maybe we all invest or pitch in on whatever that cost is, whether it's for a booth or an external event. But there's so many ways that you can cross collab just within your company to split that cost. So really, there's no excuse. You can find a way.
No, absolutely. I think with my team, we have different divisions from our tech to our frontline sales. So there's tons of opportunities for that collaboration to happen internally and externally. So thank you for sharing. Last question.
Yeah.
When you think about the planning process, could you walk us through what the planning process looks like in preparing for Afrotech? How did you prepare? What are some of the things you would do again? And what are some things you would do slightly different?
Oh, yes. So this is a conference that I wouldn't suggest planning last minute because it's very costly, and especially if you're traveling. So like I said, right now is the best time. We got the approval probably a month ahead of time through our employee resource groups. So we have an executive sponsor that was willing to sponsor our Black employee resource group leaders. So that's how we were able to come and network on the company's dime. But I am advocating that not just our Black employee resource groups go next year. I want all of the members of the employee resource group to have an opportunity to go. And I really would encourage an official partnership just so we can get discounts. You get group discounts if you have an official partnership, and also even with the booth. So if you're going there with an intent to hire, I think that's just a great opportunity just to have an official membership, or you can pay a booth, the non-membership booth price, which is a lot more pricier. But I suggest planning it ahead of time, making sure you submit for your budget requests now. It's the end of the year, or let your manager know or your executive sponsor, hey, we want to go this many, the number of how many of us want to go, just so it's already allocated in the budget for FY24.
That's perfect. Well, Janelle, thank you so much for sharing your Afrotech experience. We'll be sure to start early in preparation for next year. And thank you for spending some time with us. All right, next to the stage, Malika, on behalf of Director at Kyndryl. Malika, how are you doing today?
I am wonderful, Justin. How are you?
I am doing well. So Malika, thank you for joining. I want to know your favorite part of Afrotech this year.
Okay, so Justin, it was my first time. I would say it definitely lived up to the hype. I can't say I have a first time of like a special moment, but I think walking into the corporate reception the first evening, it was all culture, connections. I'm a music person, so cue the Beyonce energy. It was all energy. It was everyone just connecting and networking, and really just sharing their experiences from their different companies and corporations and just celebrating one another's success. The energy was amazing. It gave me a sense of community and belonging. I think I always hear, and we hear that narrative, that there are not enough of us or a lot of us in the tech space. I think that narrative, I had bought into it, but going to Afrotech this first time kind of blew that narrative and story out of the water. It disappeared. There are enough of us, and just walking into a room and seeing thousands of brilliant Black people in the tech space, definitely changed that for me. And I think going forward, my story, when I hear that to people, will be Nina Simone's Young, Black, and Gifted in Black Tech, because really it was just an amazing experience.
Oh, that's so amazing to hear. When you think about all of the programs, sessions, is there any session that stuck out to you that was particularly impactful?
I would say it was the GAP panel. So the Women's Summit, the entire day was amazing. All of the different panels was amazing, but the GAP panel with the ladies from GAP really was impactful to me. One, because they talked about becoming comfortable with being uncomfortable. And if you're not feeling that sense of a little uneasiness in your career, then you're probably not taking enough risk and you're probably stagnant. And for me, I can think about the times when I was stagnant professionally. It was times where I was complacent, I was chilling, and life was really good, right? But I wasn't moving, I wasn't progressing. I didn't feel that sense of uncomfortableness. So I think really tapping into that. Another thing they talked about was really knowing your craft and the imposter syndrome. We all have it, right, Justin? But I think that knowing that everyone has it and what you can do, which is building your soft skills, concentrating, being prepared, and really knowing your stuff and being teachable, I think was the biggest takeaway from me. For me, I think it was that the thought and notion that we should always be learning, we should always be growing in our profession, we should get mentorships and seek sponsors that can help us grow. And any person that we meet, we can walk away learning something and being a little better.
Amen. Preach.
Yes.
And I think, I think you kind of summed up, and as a great segue to this next question around, continuing to develop talent and invest in talent. I think part of that is also our own individual ownership. Some things don't require, just showing up and giving your best. And you can own those things. So I loved all of that. And when you think about companies thinking about participating in Afrotech, how did you advocate for your company's participation and sponsorship at Afrotech this year? What were some of the key factors you needed to convince them that this was a great investment?
So I think, Justin, so first of all, Kyndryl, we just celebrated our 2-year anniversary. So we're only 2 years old, and our the Black ERG is in our infancy stage. But Kyndryl is very committed to inclusion, diversity, and equity. So I think our leaders already knew that a conference that was dedicated only to us, only to Black tech, is a big deal. But I think also helping them to understand the value add and what it would help our company and the people, right? Because Kyndryl is all about people and service. So a few things that I did was to advocate was to really highlight and show the importance of bringing thousands of Black tech professionals together in one place. Also, other companies that are there that are our partners and we have alliances with, that I could build relationships with, that we can help ongoing to be able to be collaborative outside of Afrotech, and to help all of our companies kind of amplify our shared inclusion values. And then I made it very personal to me as the Black lead for our Black Inclusion Network, which is what we call our ERG. I think it was important for me on a personal level to connect with folks that have been in the DEI space and game a lot longer than I have, to understand, to get nuggets from them and implementable action items and ideas, what worked for them, what hasn't worked for them, to be able to bring back to Kyndryl and implement in our Black ERG and Inclusion Network.
Awesome. Well, it sounded like it worked. And
Yes, it did.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience, and looking forward to you continuing the conversation and being a part of the collective.
All right. Thanks, everyone. See you next year.
All right. Coming up next to the stage is Ashton Bray from Bergs.
Yes, sir. I don't own the company, I promise. How you doing?
How are you?
Doing well. Happy to be
Good.
here.
Yes, we're happy to have you. So we've talked a little bit about recruitment, and how sometimes companies struggle to find Black talent. We know that's a myth. Um, when we think about the recruitment experience, can you share your experience in managing the recruitment booth at Afrotech? How did it help achieving your ERG's goals, if any?
Yeah, for sure. So first to start, this was our second year at Afrotech. So we kind of really were able to like solidify how we wanted to approach it this year versus last year. Really took away some learnings that really helped us make an impactful booth this year. We partnered closely with our social impact team that's in charge of DEI and also our talent acquisitions team. We spoke with, hundreds of amazing people. I think I did personally at probably about 150 or so. And what we really wanted to do is we wanted to boost awareness of Braze. We wanted to our goals specifically were to connect with other external ERGs for Braze so that we can partner with them in the future. And then just sharing our personal experiences, right? We wanted to really approach it from who we are standpoint.
Yeah.
So that's how we approached it. As far as goals, we'll see. We're still crunching the numbers. It's only been a couple weeks, but we'll see how it really is going to impact us in the near future.
No, absolutely. And I love that collaborative effort across the lines of business internally. When we talk about engaging prospects while at the recruiting booth, what strategies did you all use to effectively engage prospective? I don't know if you call them Brazers or not, but future Braze employees.
Probably shouldn't say Brazers. It might be the wrong company. To be honest, what we did is we led with culture. When you came to our booth, you didn't see what our product was. A lot of people asked, "What is Braze?" And we drew them in with that. So our booth had, all of our 12 ERGs listed on the wall. It had our benefits, where our offices are located, and people were drawn to that. People from other companies came and took pictures of our booth because they want to copy the same thing next year. And when we led with that, that's how we really were to engage and have those personal conversations with those people. Another takeaway is that people were extremely nervous coming up to anyone's booth. So we just try to be approachable. People would walk by, give you the eye. You'd say, "Hey, come on through. I know you want to ask questions." And then we just really drew them in and then had those important conversations. It was really powerful. I had a really good time.
Yeah, that's great. And I think, was there any particular partnership externally or internally from a collaboration perspective that you want to shout out or talk about?
Yeah, so I talked about how we collaborated with our social impact team and our talent acquisition team, but something that we've noticed even from the year prior is that a lot of Braze's customers were actually in the room with us. They had booths set up as well. So that's something we're currently internally planning on how to approach for next year. Other than that, though, like a few other folks said, this was expensive. It's expensive to set up these booths. So collaboration is key. Collaboration is important, and even having events outside of Afrotech is key and crucial to really impacting your brand and your ERGs at your company.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Ashton, so much for taking the time to connect with us.
Had to go quick to give us that time back. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Next to the stage is Maya. Maya, how are you?
Thank you so much. Good to see you, Justin. Can you hear me okay?
Hey, Maya.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you joined us from Clio?
Cleo.
Clio. Okay. All right. Thank you. My bad. So tell me about your favorite moment from Afrotech this year.
So it's similar to Malika. It was more about a feeling or a general a general sense, on day one, I was walking down the street and I saw this stunning Black woman with beautiful dark skin and a huge afro, and she walked by me and she told me she loved my hair, and I'm like, "What? I love you." And then we giggled, and I spent the next few days just yelling compliments at Black people and getting compliments back, and just, being in a space where we were just comfortable to love up on each other. It was really a highlight for me, honestly.
Oh, that's incredible. Can you talk a little bit about your ERG experience and participation with Afrotech? What advice would you give to other ERG leaders for involving their constituents, their participants?
Yeah, so it was my first year at Afrotech. I had been involved in planning Afrotech for years previous at different organizations, and just didn't get an opportunity to go for a variety of reasons that weren't my own. And this year, admittedly, our organization wasn't really present from a booth standpoint, but I can speak to the fact that, I've built ERGs, I work with ERGs in my role of social impact, and it's been mentioned by Janelle, but it's really getting in early in terms of having those conversations with leadership, getting maybe an executive sponsor who understands the importance of us being there, both
Mhm.
from it's important for a company to represent the company, but it's also a nice I guess retention piece, where everybody's focused on hiring Black professionals, but what are they doing to keep us? And so being able to say, you know what, we're giving tickets to Afrotech to our employees, and often ERG leads will be the first to maybe get access to those tickets, is something that the teams could focus on. But again, getting that higher up sponsorship is something that I think ERGs could focus on.
No, absolutely. And as you kind of touched on this a little bit, like this is a way for Clio to invest in their people as well. Is there any other points or that you've used to encourage your company to participate in Afrotech? If so, what were some of those other strategies?
And so again, because I'm pretty new to this organization, I made it part of my offer. I wanted to make sure that I was going to go to Afrotech, because unfortunately I wasn't able to go in the past, and I said it was really important for me. My boss didn't hesitate at all; she absolutely agreed, and we're already talking about who we can bring with us for next year. And so
Great.
again, just kind of talking about how important it is to have that sense of community, and for employees, as well as this year was me and one of our lead, our recruitment manager, and she was checking out, okay, what could this look like? And we agreed you might not come away with 10 hires or something, but it's really about that presence and showing the interest in the community, showing that you value Black professionals. And so again, I think it's that being present is just such a key part of it.
Amazing. Well, I am glad you were able to attend and negotiated your attendance into that offer, and look forward to seeing you next year.
Thanks, Justin. See you soon.
Bye. Okay. Moving right along, would love to welcome El Patrice Bell to the stage.
Well, thanks for having me. Can you hear me?
I can. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I am doing well. Thank you for joining us as we relive the Afrotech experience. And really want to start with your favorite highlight from this year's Afrotech.
Yes. Along with everyone, just seeing all these beautiful Black professionals in one space just really spoke to my little Nesby heart. And the one thing was just I ended up with a conference buddy who, we navigated through the events together, and we were just chatting and realized that, I was the same class at Spelman with her brother who was in Morehouse. And it was just like, we never would have been able to make that connection in our day-to-day work. So being able to just have these moments and conversations and connection with the people in your company was huge. So made some great connections, but yes, just fed my soul to see all of us together.
No, that's amazing. And actually, my fiance's cousin, she is a junior at Spelman this year. So Zoe, if you're watching, we love you. And so, as you think about just the events, I know there's so many so much going on there. When you talk about like the event activations, and in your opinion, what distinguishes an effective event activation versus one that is less effective?
Yes. Okay. So as an events professional outside of my day job, I go into these events with such a critical eye, and it's not on purpose, but there were so many offerings, and some of the best ones were ones that create an environment where you can like party and kind of let loose, but you can still network comfortably. And honestly, I think Google did it beautifully. One of their events, like they had an amazing DJ, people were dancing, but I also noted during the event, like I can carry on a very comfortable conversation with the people next to me. I wasn't screaming. I was still meeting people, but also like I could party if I wanted to. And so creating that space that gives people, that opportunity to let loose after a long day of events and networking, but still letting them continue to meet and have meaningful conversations is absolute success.
No, that's amazing. And it's a healthy balance, and that's what we're striving for. When you think about ERG participation, how do you all at DoorDash encourage ERG participation in things like Afrotech?
Yes. So the biggest thing for me is like starting those conversations early. So when I'm putting together my goals for the year, I'm talking to my manager immediately. This is the stuff I want to do next year. We know Afrotech happens in November, so I'm not waiting until next October to start talking about it. Like we're talking about it now, making sure that it's on everyone's radar. But also, Black at DoorDash provided templates for people to share with their managers, and we really provided some guidance on why is this important? What do you plan to get out of it? What's your backup plan going to be while you're away from your desk? And really making it easy for people to make it plain why and how their teams can support.
So. That's great. Making it easy, providing those templates. We'll have to add that to the toolkit for professional development.
Absolutely.
No, that's amazing. Well, Patrice, thank you so much for joining us today, and look forward to celebrating next year.
Awesome. Adding myself to the stage now. This is exciting to navigate on the back end. Appreciate you for hosting the first half, Justin. Amazing job with the speed panel, new format here. And we're only halfway there. So we have 5 more amazing panelists as the second half of this. Thanks again, Justin. From here, we have a couple of announcements. Some of them we did mention at the top, but just to recap, because thing one, thank you to everyone who hopped over from the other link. You are some real ones dealing with the technical difficulties. So glad you're able to join us on here just to kind of represent what we were touching on before with the Bergs, the global collective of Black ERGs. There's a lot of cool programming that happens, including this holiday mixer that's happening in the DFW area. So if you're local, make sure that you join. Also, if you've never heard of the Bergs before, don't know anything about it, definitely make sure that you click the link. I'll make sure to put it in the chat so that you all will have access to it. And make sure that you join. Right now, free community of Black ERGs, and it's a really dope community. So make sure that you join that as well. Okay, awesome. Now let me get back to what we have next, or who we have next. I think that we're running a little a little tiny bit early, so I will just use this also as a moment to plug the ERG movement. Naturally, if you all don't know who I am, my name is Maceo, and I go by the ERG homegirl, and I have the ERG movement, which is a free community for ERG leaders, so make sure that you join. If you click my profile, you'll be able to easily find it. And actually, fun fact, the Berg community is a very close partner with the ERG movement. So if you join the ERG movement community, it's a really easy way to get plugged into the Bergs as well. Okay, awesome. I think now we're kind of more so back on track timing wise. So excited to welcome our next panelist to the stage, Calencia. By the way, I'm obsessed with that name. I always have been. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Maceo. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Excited to be here today.
Excited to have you. So tell us first, what was your favorite part of Afrotech in general?
Oh, goodness. So this was one of those questions where I tried to just pick one singular moment, but I could not. So it sounds a little corny, but honestly, for me, it was everything. And my reasoning for saying that is I didn't attend a HBCU. And then I recently moved back home over the past couple of years too, as well. So I am living in a small town. And for the most part, I don't get much interactions with African-American professionals. So for me, this was like my homecoming that I probably always wanted to have and always thought I would have if I did attend a HBCU. So this was that moment for me. And I honestly enjoyed every breath of it from end to end. Good, bad. I enjoyed it. It was an opportunity for me. This was as a first timer at Afrotech, where I was just overwhelmed with being able to network with people that look like me, that come from backgrounds like me, myself, and my other counterparts. But then also too, in my career, I work in HR, so I'm HR intake. So I come from two different cross intersections where I've been in rooms where I'm the only person of color, but then also too, being in HR, a lot of times I'm the only person of color that's in the HR space too as well. So all that connection, guidance, mentorship, and just lasting knowledge I received at Afrotech, it was amazing. Well, amazing for me and my team too as well. So yeah, everything as a whole, like I said, I take it with a full grain of salt. I learned so much about myself, my team, and then also too, just about being Black in tech and Black in HR as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. The first time I went to Afrotech, it had that same feeling, and I didn't go to HBCU either. So I was like, I feel like
this is it.
Making up for the experience.
Yeah.
Definitely shout out to LaShawn who said that it was definitely feeling like a homecoming with the parties as well. So I love that it had those strong vibes there. Now, that being said, when it comes to an event activation, the after event things that happen, what kind of distinguishes a good one from like a not so good one in your opinion?
Oh, great question. So I think for me, when I think about a lot of the programming that was done after the conference and the ones that had lasting impressions for me, they really focused on relevance, engagement, and there was a seamless integration throughout the event. But also, so they really left a lasting impression for me and my teammates, and really just focusing on honing that event resonated with us at Afrotech, but also to realizing just because Afrotech is for Black people, know too as well that everyone that is Black, we are still very much different. Some of the brands top of mind for me was definitely the DocuSign brunch at Afrotech, and then Expedia hosted an event, Black and Well Traveled, and I felt like those were two of the brands, and not to discount any other brand or organization as well, but they stood out to me. And also too, I got those same lasting impressions from one when I visited their booth, and then they carried over into the after conference event. But I got a combination of everything. Like we of course focused on Afrotech, the impact the organization was having, really telling their story, but then also to those conversations that I had at those events, they just lasted with me, and just really hearing about the work that's actually being done at the organization. That's super important to me. Everyone loves a party, but a party with a purpose and that talks about that impact and can verify that with the numbers and the work that they're doing. That's a win-win for me, because it's more than just about partying, having a good time, but then also really to just focusing on that impact. That's truly important.
I love that. Party with a purpose. So for you all thinking about how you want to have an activation next year, try to make sure that you combine the two.
Yes.
I love that so much. Okay, well, last question here. What strategies would you suggest for ERG leaders that are trying to involve their ERGs in Afrotech next year?
Awesome. I think the biggest thing that I would say, with looking at trying to make sure you involve your ERG for next year, really, starting early and really focusing on um, prepping them for Afrotech. I think that's so important. And not to say that they did not already prep them, but prepping is so important because for one, for the ERGs that are sponsors and have booths at Afrotech, making sure that your talent is ready to attract new talent and having those conversations, not just with professionals in the typical tech roles, but for the ones that are in non-tech roles, but in the tech industry. Because even for me, when I would approach some booths and they would like, oh, we don't have anything for you, and kind of just like, just sign up. And I'm like, okay, that's where some of the key pieces where I'm like, okay, sometimes even being in HR, I do kind of feel left out of the tech world when we talk about tech, but being able to have those conversations and really telling your org story, because that attraction, that's why you're there. That's why you paid your money as a sponsor and to have a booth. I think that's really important. But also to prepping your ERGs to not just also be there for the organization, but also too for themselves, being able to tell about their personal brand, how to prep to as well, and their must-haves that they would like to do, just carving out a plan for yourself and your ERG. I think that's so important and really honing that in for your ERG members and leaders to have a plan for themselves. So providing that additional training and just making sure that's there too as well, because you want your organization to get something out of it, but also too, you want your employees and ERG members and leaders to get that out for themselves too as well for their own professional development. So I think that's truly important.
Got you. Noted. Don't go there just off of vibes. Go there with a plan.
Do not. You can, but you will be overwhelmed. It is a lot going on. And even with that plan, everything may not work out, but just trying to focus on, hey, out of the 3 main areas, did I at least get 1 or 2 of them accomplished? And if you did, that is perfect, because a lot of attendees attending a conference that large, it's a lot. It is a lot. So having a plan is so important.
I love it. I love it. Appreciate you for hopping on. So many great tips. I mean, this is going to have to be something that is played back over and over as we prep.
Yes, I agree. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. For this next one, it's going to be actually very interesting. So we have 2 people. I'm going to say apologies, Jordan. I could not, for some reason, find your headshot anywhere or your favorite picture. Even when I went to when I eventually did go to stalk your LinkedIn to find a picture, couldn't even find the picture. So we're going to go with this.
That's all good. That was my fault.
It's all good. It's all good. I'm excited to have you both. You are both coming from Aiden. Tell us a little bit about your connection, I guess, or how you got to Afrotech. Either one, whoever wants to go first.
Yeah, sure. Definitely happy to go first. So I've kind of always heard about the elusive Afrotech, right? Kind of how Calencia was saying before, it's kind of like a Black homecoming for tech professionals. And, I think definitely, I know Jordan can relate to this for our company, Audion. We're really well established in Europe, but we're trying to get our name and our brand out there a lot more in North America, right? And especially the US. So an opportunity like Afrotech is a great chance for us to get our name out there, right? And get people a little bit more comfortable about who we are, what we do, and what we bring to the table.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm adding on to what Maya said, wanting to really connect with ourselves as well. We're new to North America and we're spread out amongst New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. So we see each other online a lot, but we don't get many opportunities to connect in person. So it was a great chance for us to connect with folks from the rest of the country, but also connect with each other and actually grow and learn and bond together.
I love it. Now, would love to hear you all's highlights from Afrotech.
I think for me specifically, it was definitely getting to know some of my internal colleagues, as much as I love networking with other folks at the conference as well. There are not very many Black people at Advoating, and with us being spread out across the country, we very rarely get to see each other. So for the vast majority of people that I went to Afrotech with for my own company, it was my first time meeting them in person. So it was really great to just hang out, get to know each other, and really form that connection. That way we can help each other out with various pieces of the business.
Yeah, I'd agree. I just quickly add on for me, I think something that's really great about Afrotech is how much easier I think everything is in a way, because you're with people that you are automatically comfortable with. So going up to a booth in the expo hall, trying to network with someone at a networking event, at least to me, is a lot easier because I just feel like we automatically have that a bit of a shared connection and understanding. And I think for me, that's something that obviously we don't get to experience in our day to day as Black professionals in technology. So I find that super refreshing and really enjoyable about Afrotech.
I love that too. And it does have that feel to it where it's like you can kind of put your guard down a little bit. And I even love what you mentioned, Jordan, about like, I think that it's an underrated perk of like, this is just time I can finally spend in person with other Black employees at the company. I mean, being connected virtually is great, but definitely being connected in person in that kind of environment is like, there's a lot of bonding moments that can happen there. So
Absolutely.
I'm a big fan. So in you all's opinion, what is the difference between like a good ERG, not ERG, but Afrotech event versus like a not so good one?
I think I'd really echo the party with a purpose. I kind of love that like tagline. I think again, reiterating for us, like our goals are maybe a bit looser just because we're trying to get our name out there, right? So anybody that we get going to our event, just talking to us, that's kind of a win for us, right? So we didn't necessarily have such a hard and fast, I think, structure, like rules that we were trying to follow, just because we're in the earlier stages as a company within North America, and then also just with our partnership with Afrotech, right? So I think that that's kind of something that I would say. Is kind of is how we like approach it. But I would say that if you're a company that maybe is more established, then maybe all the more reason why you should kind of come in with maybe more specific goals about what it is that you're hoping to accomplish, just so that you can also take back to your leadership and say, hey, you invested in this experience, you invested in this booth, this mixer, this panel, et cetera, et cetera. Here are the 5 different ways, and we have this data to show, right, like how this was successful. So I think also being clear on your goals so you can attach metrics to them. And then when you kind of report back on Afrotech, you're more successful.
Yeah, and I think in addition to that, being strategic with any giveaways that you're doing, I think we all have 1,000 tote bags, we all have 1,000 pens, we all have 1,000 everything. But when you're spending that budget strategically to give away things that'll really help cement your brand is really useful. One of my favorite things that I got at Afrotech was a little cable organizer that I put on my desk that keeps all my cables neat, and it has the company's name on it. So every time I look down, plug in my laptop, charge my phone, that company's name is right there in front of me. So thinking strategically about, how are we going to brand ourselves and how we're going to give things away that actually make an impact is really important.
Love that. We probably don't need another tote or lanyard. And honestly, sometimes at Afrotech, if you have like 5 totes, it's actually inconvenient. So great point in terms of giveaways that are happening too. Okay, last question. For any ERG leaders that are on the call that want to get their ERG members to the next Afrotech, any tips for them?
I would say plan in advance, especially right now is a good time. There are early bird rates out right now. So I know a lot of folks said, go in there and get your budget request in for next year. But also a tip is figure out what budget is left over for this year. Are there any use it or lose it funds that are going to expire in the next 6 weeks before we change over years? Can you lock in those rates now and just go ahead and purchase 20 tickets and then figure out who's going to go later? Use your resources and be able to lock in those rates now can be really helpful.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I would really echo the earlier you can kind of plan for this, the better. I know that's something that we could kind of improve on for ourselves, like internally. Is just being a little bit more intentional about that. And then I think also just being really clear about everything that Afrotech brings, right? Like there's a bunch of different angles in which this can be successful for the employees, yes, but then also for the company. So we looked at it from a bunch of different angles, right? We were talking about like recruiting, obviously, right? The expo hall, it's like, okay, cool. Like that's like an easy one, but also the business partnerships perspective, right? Like I'm in a client facing role being in account management. And so you never know who's going to be at Afrotech. You never know who you're going to meet, or you do know, right? You do know the companies that are going to be present. And so from a business partnership and relationship perspective, that can also be really beneficial. And then kind of the third thing that we explored was also that professional development side, that retention, and increasing that employee engagement factor as well. And so I think if you kind of look at it holistically from those 3 angles, it's a pretty clear sell, that is something that your company should invest in and send their employees to.
I love it. I love it. Honestly, you are getting me excited all over again for Afrotech. And the concept of planning now, for some people might be like, it's literally November still. But honestly, like you all said, getting ahead of it is going to be a game changer. So, and the use it or lose it funds, another major tip for you all to take too as ERG leaders, because it's almost the end of the year. Maybe even if it's just setting aside some of that money to buy some tickets, just so that you're not, letting the funds go to waste. I love it. Thank you both, Maya and Jordan, for joining. So many great tips and things that people can bring back. Awesome. So now this is actually going to be our final panelist. I am super excited for this last panelist. LaShawn, give us an intro really quickly, who you are.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's afternoon, y'all time, so morning my time here in Seattle. But good morning. I'm LaShawn Graham, a senior program manager, most recent role with Amazon. And I did attend Afrotech this year, and happy to jump on and discuss some of my experience.
Amazing. Happy to have you. So thing one, first and foremost, what was your highlight of Afrotech?
Highlight of Advoating. I had a blast connecting. Like getting on site. I did go again last year, so getting on site and seeing some of the same faces with different purposes this year was a huge highlight. Getting to the expo hall and just making the most out of my time. I think last year I didn't go with a strategic purpose. I just went to enjoy the Black excellence experience. But this year I went with a purpose, and it panned out really well.
I love that. Okay. Last year you went with the vibes. This year you went with the plan. So that's fair. You can split it up a little bit. Okay. So when it comes to partnerships that have to be made, because to bring employees to Afrotech is no small undertaking. What were some of those like strategic partnerships that had to be made internally to bring this experience to ERG members?
Yeah, so some of the strategic partnerships, just getting ahead of it. And when I think of strategic partnerships, I'm thinking more so of like connecting with whatever your DEI leads are at your local level. So if that's the DEI champions, like for Amazon, getting with the DEI champions and finding out like what is the roadmap to getting to Afrotech the sooner than later. That was extremely important because a lot of companies they put it off because they don't want to spend the funds or they have already pre-allocated funds. I guess getting with them and creating those partnerships and continue that conversation throughout the year to keep it in the forefront of everyone's mind is extremely important. And just getting your company to sponsor, but getting to Afrotech in general.
So what does that process look like then when it comes to the strategic planning to get to Afrotech?
For sure, it took just knowing what was a realistic ask, right? And how to frame it, right? So we can ask for anything, but depending on how you frame it, depending on who you talk to and how you get it sent up, Afrotech did a great job of putting up a lot of tools on their page, like white paper examples to send up to let you know the why behind Afrotech, just not a party, but just that formal process and sending that to your manager and actually progressing it right every couple of weeks, every couple of months, asking about it. Hey, how do you feel about it? As well as just put and having your manager put that into the rooms that you aren't in. It is a huge, it goes a long way into actually getting to the event. So that was my strategic plan last year and this year. Just this year, I started on it a little bit early to make sure I could procure the funds to make sure I was there.
Yeah, and like you said, the follow-up is important too. It's not just that one email and being like, well, now we can't go because it's too late. You had to follow up to get it through. Okay, and being with Amazon, who has a massive booth at Afrotech, very curious while at the recruitment booth, what strategies are kind of put in place to engage with prospective candidates in the Expo Center.
Yeah, for sure. I think last year I didn't really engage a lot of booths. Not even the Amazon booth. I think I went by it just to see who was there, see if any of my colleagues or anyone I knew was there to make some connections. But this year it was kind of different because I think I have some pretty good soft skills, right? I think I can talk to pretty much anyone, right, about anything. But a lot of opportunity I saw this year was a lot of potential candidates went with the wrong ask. I don't think they knew what to ask, like especially people that was looking for roles or looking for jobs. So practicing a script of just, introducing yourself with a smile, saying, making your intentions clear. just saying, hey, my name is X, I'm interested in this type of role, etc. It goes a long way from just these recruiters who have to sit there and shake 1,000,001 hands to actually having an actual conversation. You got to remember, like, likability is you want to be the last thing that people remember, if that makes sense. So your smile, your interaction, that introduction goes a long way from just getting a LinkedIn or getting an active individual for you to talk to long term and potentially leading to partnerships and roles, etc. So I think that's a big key factor, a big takeaway I took from this year.
I love that. And I'll just say a tip, me personally, especially for any ERG leaders that are on the call, or even those in the DEI space in general, connecting with people with that shared background of like, oh, you're an ERG leader, so am I. You know, we should follow up and do something, like have a cross collaboration event. That'll be something that helps people remember you, even if you're going there as a candidate on the low. But at the same time, that's just a really good way to connect with people with kind of having that shared interest.
For sure.
Appreciate you for hopping on, LaShawn. Anything else that you want to tell anyone when it comes to Afrotech that they should know?
Just one last thing is just something extremely interesting I saw this year. I ended up going to the first day, and after the first day, I ended up connecting with some people. We ended up going to get like drinks and playing a little bit of pool after. And one of the major things I noticed about Afrotech, which I think is extremely important for anyone to go to, is that it was someone who was in a tech space and struggling with coding, etc. And just in that group that we went out with, he ended up mentioning like, hey, like I got this project I'm working on, and I got to talk to these developers, and I don't understand the language. And it was somebody in the group was like, hey, like I understand the language, like I can get with you tomorrow, jump on your call or sit with you and help you out and explain some of the language to you. And that small interaction right there, like, yeah, I guess it was in a quote unquote party setting, but that impact right there just, you know, potentially advance his knowledge base. So I don't think Afrotech should be seen as just a party space. Like, it's a lot of connections and a lot of good people you can meet that can take your career to the next level if you leverage it and responsibly. So that's my major takeaway. I hope I leave everybody with that and something that y'all could take with you.
Amazing. Thank you again for joining us.
For sure. For sure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, can you all believe it? 9 amazing panelists. And that was a speed panel format. For those of you who are ERG leaders on the call, just know that this is a format that you can seal and use in your next ERG meeting, where maybe instead of having one person speak for a long time, you just have quite a few people join for 5 minutes. It's just, I think it's something that keeps people's attention. So just something to think about. Anyway, want to say again, thank you all for joining. And just another reminder, if you haven't already, make sure that you join the Global Collective of Bergs, of Black ERGs. This link will take you there pretty quickly, bit.ly/join-the-Bergs. Again, a community of Black ERG leaders, and it's happening in collaboration with the ERG movement. So make sure that you tune in. Again, thank you all for joining, and we'll see you all at the next session. Bye.